Yes, please. Excited for a number of reasons. I got two individuals which I haven't actually spoken to in person before with me on today's Punchy Kicky podcast. Added to that, what these two individuals are going to talk about is something brand spanking new for the South African MMA community. Most importantly, the South African MMA fighter and fight fan. Joining me today, Jan van der Berg, welcome. Thanks for your time this morning. Cameron Saaiman, professional, can I say, what do we want to call you? I mean, you've been labeled as Dricus's next in line. I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but professional fighter, Cameron Saaiman, thanks for your time as well, and welcome to the Punchy Kicky podcast.
Cool,
Thank you
for having me. Thanks.
Right, so I'm going to dive straight in. Jan, fantastic shirt that you're wearing. Obviously, that gives away what this entire podcast is all about. It's all about versus promotion, absolutely. So first question right off the bat, what is versus promotion, and how did this whole concept come about? Because we have a whole bunch of promotions in the country at the moment. Many would argue there's no need for another one. Other side of the fence would argue we need as many as possible. So why versus?
So Versus started as a clothing organizer. We were going to do only clothing, and because of the passion for the sport, now we're doing our first fight night. On Saturday coming on the 17th. It's been an awesome journey. Like I said, this actually started 2 years back with myself transitioning from bodybuilding to fighting. Cameron had his hands full. I had to lose 20 Ks. I had to learn how to meditate. I had to learn how to visualize. My passion is still surviving, not fighting yet, but
Okay.
I'm getting the surviving part of things at least done. Cameron has become like a little brother to me. His Dricus is also his little brother at the moment. So he's been helping me put this whole versus show together. Like I said, it was going to start only as clothing, but with our passion, it came to this fighting night. The amateur scene, we're going to do submission grappling as well. We're so excited at the moment as it's going on. Things are changing so much for us. We were touching base on how are we going to be different and how are we going to make things better in versus or why versus. And everybody says they want to make the sport better or they want to change things. And we are limited. We are limited how to change things. But this last couple of weeks, you would have seen we're really focusing on social media in the sense of we're getting to the fighter. We want to involve the fighter. We want the fighter to feel special. We want the fighter to know what this business is about him. And meeting the fighters. How awesome is that? How awesome it is to go to a fighting gym like House of Tinkerbell and meeting these three awesome individuals, Peace, Gift, and Nate, humble guys, and wanting to thank us for putting on the promotion, but we're thanking them for being there for us, for being a fighter. So I think the journey starts for changing the things for the fighter, and not trying to change the industry as a whole. Because we have MMSA out there, we have guys regulating things at the moment. So, and MMSA, fighting MMA in South Africa is still so small. And considering EFC, they've made it huge for us from where it was till now, but it's still so small. Dricus has changed South Africa with his last fight. Every second old Tani knows who's Dricus and who's UFC now all of a sudden. And it's lekker. We're bouncing off that. Dricus is commentating for us on the 17th with Cameron as well. So that's also a lekker way to advertise the whole thing, to advertise the streaming part of it. If you guys can go to and check out Howler, we will be, our streaming window will be through Howler. So that's a bit from me.
Wow, that's a heck of a lot, all in terms of an introduction. So just in terms of summarizing all of that, what started as a clothing brand has now transitioned into an amateur fight promotion. Cameron, one of the things you've spoken about with regards to this is and something that Jan's touched on is the marketing of athletes. And I know I've spoken to Drickus about it. I've spoken to a number of fighters and particularly promotions about it. And I think that's probably the biggest thing in this country is that our athletes, our youngsters just don't seem to, and I think it's twofold. One, they aren't given the skills or taught how to market themselves in terms of their fight skills. And second of all, they don't have the resources to be able to market themselves personally because they haven't been taught that as well. So you guys are looking at that as the key differentiator between yourselves and the rest?
Most definitely. You know, Versus was, when we started the company, we actually decided, okay, what is important for us? And, you know, a big part of why we are doing it is because of our fighters. And at the end of the day, we can't have a fight night without them, you know. So we want to really take the resources we have, the contacts we have, and we want to invest it back into the guys that are going to climb into that cage, you know, come fight night. We are lucky to have great videographers and great photographers with us that can basically, if these guys can't, you know, market themselves with content, we can create that for them. We also want to create a platform not only by social media, but we are also we have an app in development as well that we will be launching soon. So we want as many fighters, whether you're a grappler or a wrestler or an MMA fighter, we want you guys to basically join part of this. And I think, you know, just by the amount of requests we got from athletes right across the country wanting to compete in Fight Night 1, it was insane, you know. And Stefan De La Rey, our matchmaker, did an amazing job in creating an awesome fight card for our first event. And we identified a few people that we would like to promote. And as you can see on our social media, we've posted some photo content, we did some graphic design work, and we did some video content for the guys that we could get to. You know, some of the gyms or some coaches are super busy. So it's, but we'll keep on doing that. After every event, we'll identify the guys that we want to invest into. And the better the guys fight, you know, the better their chances are of being marketed as well. And at the end of the day, you know, that content helps them, you know, if they want to take that and go to sponsors or go to, you know, businesses with looking to become brand ambassadors, they can use that as well. So, you know, it's the one hand washing the other. So we get the fights we want, you know, we want as many people to see the fights live, you know, whether it's live in person or live on stream. And we luckily are in the process of making that happen.
Well, it sounds absolutely fascinating. And I think something, like I mentioned when I asked the question, is that the marketing of the athletes, something that has been sorely missed and missing in amateur MMA. And I think not even amateur MMA, amateur combat sports per se. We've got so many great boxers. We've got so many great Muay Thai, Taekwondo athletes that no one really seems to know about. And in fact, it doesn't even stop there. We've got some fantastic professional boxers in this country who go overseas, fight for titles and stuff like that. And people don't even know that they've left the country and come back with those wins, with those #1 contenderships, etc. Staying with the marketing of it, I get the sense if I listen to what you guys are saying, we've got yourself, Cameron, EFC professional. We've got Stefan De La Rey, EFC professional. We've got Drickus du Plessis, former double EFC champ or double division EFC champ, now a UFC professional. This is very much a CIT sort of setup. So, I mean, obviously for me, the logical question is this something that CIT is using to grow CIT as a greater force within South African MMA and obviously develop MMA as a whole and grappling and wrestling as a whole? Or is there something else that's behind it all? Because I see a very, very strong CIT focus in the back end of this.
Well,
Mark, I would have, sorry, Cameron, you go first.
No, well, obviously, you know, Jan being from Harties, he knows Drickus well. He knew Drickus before all of this, and you know, coaching Jan as well. We have been good friends, and you know, like he said, I'm like a smaller brother to him. So it just happens to be that, you know, we are in the same team. You know, at Team CIT. Versus is definitely a entity of its own. It's not going to be, we want CIT athletes to compete in versus events, but it is solely going to be on its own. We want to work with all the gyms in the country. You know, Stefan De La Rey, that is a Team CIT member, has done a lot of effort into driving to gyms like House of Tinkerbell, you know, working close to fight Coach Richie Kwan at Kwan University, getting into contact with guys like Rod Young from East London. So we are really trying to make an effort to connect with not only gyms in Pretoria, not only the gyms in Gauteng, but the gyms right across the country. You know, our plans are to host events not only here in Pretoria, but we want to go to Cape Town, we want to go to the Western Cape, we want to go to Durban. So it's very important for us to make those connections with those other teams, and so that we can make sure that we have the best possible athletes competing at our events.
Jan, just following on that, I know you probably have one or two things to say, but one of the things that stands out for me there is development. And I think I'm not the only one that would probably say this, but development is sorely missed in this country when it comes to MMA and particularly the grappling arts. I mean, there's a very select few people that can access the gyms. Obviously, COVID has had a massive impact in youngsters being able to not only get to your own gyms. I mean, Cameron, you can speak more to that. Jan, obviously yourself, you know, having a vehicle, maybe not having access to transport, etc., has fundamentally impacted a lot of youngsters and their abilities to develop their skills, both in striking, in MMA, in groundwork, etc. The plan for development, how deep is that ingrained within what Versus is going to stand for in the coming months and years?
Yeah, it should. Starting Versus, as a business owner, I was never close enough to fighting to know how fighting works as a promotion. So for me at first, when they told me I'm not allowed to pay an amateur, I was like, okay, guys, but whoa, this doesn't make sense. How can someone fight and not get paid? Where does the money go to? And it was, I mean, I had to go on the internet and said, this is a normal thing. Overseas, everywhere, no amateur gets paid. I mean, this sounds simple to you guys now, but this didn't make sense to me. I mean, normally the guys that does the work gets the most money. And we had to start, or not all of us, or especially myself, not being in the fighting industry. I mean, Cameron, Stefan as well, they had to go through the amateur scene to be able to be a pro to get paid. So, but for myself, not being that fighter, this was from start. This was so unfair. So we have to change that. I have to know what are these fighters of this gym. What do they actually need? What can we give them? And now we have to get ways around. I don't want to say compliance or legislation, but ways around to be able to pay, to get something back to the athlete, not pay them, but to like you say, transport. I mean, how small is something like transport? How big is it? Cameron and them are there, starting with things like Little Legends. It's so awesome to see these guys coaching these guys from young, and you have girls and boys, and it's so lovely to see them wrestling better than me. I'm a 40-year-old man, and I'm like, I want to do that. What that 9-year-old girl just did now, I want to do that. So next time, can you help me with that? So
Yeah.
so it's hard, Mark. It's not the easiest way, but that is our concentration, because the athlete is going to be the most important. I think because of our passion, the money will follow. We're not concerned about the money now. We have to have deep pockets at the moment, but it's so lekker. Yeah? We're enjoying it. We're enjoying every piece of, and we're blessed. So it's so awesome. Yeah.
Looking at the card, I mean, initially it looks like we've got 18 fights finalized on the card, 11 on the prelims, 7 on the main card, and already you guys are giving away belts. First event, first night, and your main event is a strap. I mean, talk me through that. I mean, I understand that the two guys fighting for the strap are seasoned amateurs. They fought for belts in other promotions. So the point is it makes sense. But in terms of being a brand new promotion and already putting a belt on the line, Cameron, talk me a little bit about that. I mean, what's the thinking behind giving away a belts first up?
Well, looking at the main event, you know, they are fighting for a belt, but you are looking at the number 1 and number 2 ranked amateurs in the country, you know. So getting those guys to fight for our organization, we want to give them not only a good platform and, you know, a quality event, you know, that looks good and that's going to be streamed across the world, but we want to have these guys fight for a title. And you know, our plans are not short term, so that title is not going to mean nothing in thinking about 4 or 5 events for this year. So, you know, off the bat, we want to show the athletes that, you know, there is something to work towards, and I think that's a very important thing. Especially, you know, I was an amateur. I started fighting when I was 12 years old. I turned pro when I was 18. And transitioning from also kickboxing to MMA. In kickboxing, you know, you had to do tournaments in order to go to Gauteng North. You had to, you know, do your nationals, win SA champ, stuff like that. And with MMA, you can do that as well. But when you fight for our organization, we want to ensure that you are working towards something, you know, and you have these veterans that are maybe planning to turn pro soon. And we want to help them, you know, get the professional experience out of an amateur fight. So having number 1 and number 2 in the country fighting for a title, I don't think that's too uncommon. We have guys like Nathaniel, who is a top-ranked featherweight, also in our co-main event. So we want to identify these fighters that have been putting in the work in other organizations, and we want to reward them, you know.
I think that's incredibly noble, and I look forward to obviously seeing how that goes down. Obviously, production and all that kind of stuff become key things. Like you've said, it's all about giving these amateurs the opportunity to experience the professional approach and a more professional way of doing things. Jan, looking at the card, there's 1 female fight on the card. How tough, and it's a pity Stefan's not with us, but I'm sure you'd be able to, or Cameron, you can answer this question. How tough is it to build the female divisions? Because we see less and less females getting involved. A lot of cards going out in many amateur promotions, and often, Cameron, as you would know, on an EFC event, a professional card where there's not a single female fighter. How difficult is it to find young female fighters who actually see fighting in their future for money?
Yeah, it's a big shift. There has to be a shift made, especially, you know, I think overseas it might be different. Looking at you know, the UFC, for an example, or One Championship, they have so many female fighters, and they also have female stars. You know, these companies can rely on these athletes to invest into them because obviously they bring in viewership. Here in South Africa, it is a bit underdeveloped, but that being said, there is a shift being made. You know, I myself, we have a Legends MMA program that we work with Team CIT with, where we have a kids program. And probably out of the 100 kids I train weekly, you know, about 25 of them are girls. So, and they're small. They're from ages 4 to about 13 years old. So more females are entering the sport, and it is slow in comparison to other countries, but that shift is being made. And, you know, we have Dana fighting. She's from Gorge Fight Systems, but she also trains at CIT. And, you know, it takes a special girl to climb in the cage, you know, so there's not a lot of them. I think in terms of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and grappling, it has been taking off a lot. You know, you can see daily more females entering the sport of you know, submission grappling and stuff like that. So that is also definitely one of the focus points that we will be sitting after versus Fight Night 1 and saying, okay, how can we identify the females that are amateurs and top ranked, and how can we bring them together to, you know, square off against each other? And but I think it's going to still take some time for that to be, you know, a big thing on a card, is, you know, to have those fights happen. But the shift is there, most definitely. Yeah,
it's great to hear that the pipeline of young athletes, young female fighters, is looking big, most notably in your gym. I know it is looking big down the line at a lot of other gyms as well. Jan, coming back to you, looking at the number of promotions that are currently, let's call it, registered in and let's look at Gauteng specifically. With Versus now coming on board, by my count, that's 5 amateur promotions registered here in Gauteng, which prior to COVID, there was already a bit of an argy-bargy as to who gets which weekend based on the fact that there's 4 of them. And obviously you've got things like medical suspension. So for example, let's use your main event. I mean, if you get Peace being knocked out, he's essentially, based on the medical suspensions, he's out for a couple of months. He cannot fight anywhere else. So if he's already anticipating a win and he's already booked on another fight card, let's say a month down the line, and gets knocked out, that's him gone off that main card. And that could potentially be your main card, which then throws everything out. So my question to you is now, with the congestion that is taking place, which is a great thing, you know, for the athletes, and Cameron, we'll talk a little bit more about that with you now, but with that congestion, is there an opportunity now for youngsters and to start picking and choosing which specific promotions they want to fight for versus others?
I think if our timing was different, if COVID wasn't yet, it would have been a totally different ball game. But at this moment, the fighters don't have a place to fight. I don't know of other amateurs and promotions having fights in the next month.
Not at the moment,
I maybe missed it. So at this moment, we're so open to working together with other amateur MMA amateur promotions. For the fighters being able to better themselves, to get them to pro. But yeah, we're really trying to focus on the fighters. So I hope these guys can stick with us and do it on the same professional level. That we don't create something. We don't want to be the main role player. We're not there. We just want to be. We're having fun at the moment. Have an awesome event. Think about the fighters. That's where we are. I would love some competition in future. I'm sounding windgat to say love some competition, but
nice.
I'm looking at our social media. I'm looking at our fights, and I told all the guys working with me, I said, guys, I'm so proud of you, because I think we're doing something unique in South Africa at the moment. I don't think another amateur has had on their first event such big social media, if I can put it that way. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes, 100%.
But yeah, please, I'm open. It would be awesome for the fighters to choose between promotion companies. It's not like to think that in another promotion company that they can get hurt and we have to, or Stefan has to change the card. That's not a lack of way to think, but there's so many fighters looking for opportunities. So to fill a card is not a problem. But to give these guys what they really deserve, the media, the prize that they deserve, that type of things, I think that's going to make a big difference.
I'm glad to hear that. So I'm looking forward to it. First event, like we said, Saturday, 17th of April. What time does everything start?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it goes through 18 fights, 1 title fight. So there is a strap on the line at the end of the night. We have 1 female fight, which is really, really exciting. Glad that you guys are launching with that. I'm going to take the opportunity, Jan, and Cameron, having you right here. I know there was a big announcement yesterday. You are up in exactly 1 month from now. You fight at EFC 85. You up against Billy Oosthuizen. Dude, I mean, has this been building up? Has it been long coming? Has it been something that's been spoken about a lot? And how's the camp been going with 1 month left?
Yeah, I think the fight was, I think it feels like it should have been inevitable, you know. After my last fight, and that was more than a year ago, we were looking at the rankings. We were looking at the guys we identified that we would like to fight, and you know, I talked to Graham, and he threw Billy into the mix. And as a team, you know, I talked to Drickus, I talked to my coach, and we think that's an awesome fight. So having that, you know, being announced is awesome. I got the news yesterday, and called Drickus, told him, listen, we have it. And I've been in camp for more than a year now, and I'm not just spitballing there. I've been constantly training for more than a year. Injuries in and out, but it was small and it was manageable. So I feel good. It's a month away. I really cannot wait. My preparation has been close to perfect. My weight is looking great. So I really can't wait to showcase a new set of skills that I have learned in the past year. And yeah, I can't wait to show the EFC fans what we have been doing this past year. So, you know, being in COVID, you know, working in a garage, building a small gym in a garage, you must expect fireworks.
No, absolutely. I can't wait to see what COVID skills the athletes are going to bring to EFC in the 8th of March. So I'm looking forward to it. So all the best. Good luck for the final couple of weeks before that fight. Final thing, Jan, to you, to Cameron, to Drickus, obviously from commentary, from Steph, from a matchmaking point of view. I wish you guys all the best for next week, Saturday. Go give it horns. 18 fights. It's going to be absolutely banging. Cannot wait to see another promotion offering our young amateurs another opportunity to grow their records, get more experience. I mean, Lord knows our athletes need it. Cameron, you know, I mean, you retired, what, 6-0 as an amateur before you were forced to go professional. Not a great place to be. Ideally, you would have liked to be 20 and something, or hopefully 20-0, I'm sure. So hats off to you all. I look forward to seeing the outcomes, and then hopefully we can set up a follow-up the week afterwards to see what have you guys learned and what's in store for the coming months.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate your time.
Dude, guys, thanks so much. Look forward to it. With nationals breaking down, I think weigh-ins today, nationals starting tomorrow through the weekend. It's going to be a very, very interesting weekend. I'm sure you guys are biting at the nails so we don't get too many injuries out of nationals, so that cards don't need to be messed up. So I'll be holding thumbs that none of that happens, and all the best for all of the athletes over the coming week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for reaching out. Bye.